Linda stood in front of the mirror that morning, adjusting the soft pink dress she had picked out months ago. It wasn't too fancy, but it was perfect for her only daughter's wedding. She smiled at her reflection, even though her heart felt heavy. Things between her and Emily hadn't been good lately, not since Emily had started dating David. But today was supposed to be about love, forgiveness, and family. Linda arrived early at the venue, carrying a small box wrapped with gold ribbon, a gift for Emily that she had been saving for months. The hall was filled with flowers, soft music, and people chatting happily. For a moment, Linda felt warm inside. Maybe, she thought, today could fix everything. She took a seat near the middle row, careful not to be too close to the front. She didn't want Emily to feel pressured. Linda looked around, smiling at familiar faces. Her sister waved from across the room, and for a second, Linda felt like she belonged there. But then David walked in. He was wearing his suit, looking sharp, confident, and almost too perfect. When his eyes met Linda's, his smile vanished. He whispered something to one of the groomsmen and then walked straight to the center of the room. The chatter died down when David tapped a glass with a spoon. Everyone's eyes turned to him. Linda's heart started to beat faster. What was happening? David cleared his throat and said in a loud, clear voice, "She doesn't want you here." For a moment, Linda didn't even understand. Who didn't want her here? Why was he saying this now, in front of everyone? He looked right at her and repeated, "Emily doesn't want you here. You should leave." The room went completely silent. All the happy smiles were gone. People turned to stare at Linda. Some looked shocked, some curious, and a few even looked like they believed him. Linda's throat tightened. She looked toward the front, hoping to see Emily shake her head, say something, anything. But Emily just stood there, pale and frozen, her bouquet trembling in her hands. She didn't say a word. It felt like someone had punched Linda in the chest. She wanted to scream, to defend herself, to beg her daughter to speak. But instead, she forced a small smile. She didn't want to give David the satisfaction of seeing her break down. Slowly, Linda stood up. The sound of her heels echoed in the quiet hall. She walked toward the door, holding her head high. She placed the gift box gently on a table near the exit. When she stepped outside, the fresh air hit her like a wave. Her legs felt weak, but she kept walking until she reached her car. Only then did she let the tears fall. She gripped the steering wheel and sobbed quietly, her heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. Back inside, the guests began whispering. Some said Linda must have done something terrible for her own daughter to not want her there. Others shook their heads, feeling sorry for her. David returned to his seat, smug and satisfied, while Emily stood there with tears in her eyes. Linda drove home in silence, her mind spinning. She replayed every fight she and Emily had ever had. Was this really how her daughter felt about her? She had been so excited to watch Emily get married, and now she wasn't even allowed to stay. When she got home, Linda placed the small gift box on the table. It was a pearl bracelet, something she had bought years ago, waiting for the day she could give it to Emily. Now it just sat there, unopened, a reminder of everything she had lost that day. That night, Linda lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her phone stayed silent. No call, no message from Emily. Not even a single word. The house felt colder than ever before. And as the hours passed, Linda's heartbreak slowly turned into something else. A quiet, burning question that kept her awake until morning. Why hadn't Emily spoken up? Linda woke up the next morning with swollen eyes and a heavy heart. She had barely slept. The memory of David's voice still echoed in her head. "She doesn't want you here." Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the shocked faces, the whispers, the way Emily stood frozen and said nothing. She walked into the kitchen and made herself a cup of tea, but it tasted like nothing. She sat at the table, staring at the pearl bracelet still sitting in its box. She had imagined Emily wearing it on her wedding day, smiling as Linda fastened it around her wrist. Now it sat unopened, as if it had no place in her daughter's life. Her phone was on the table. Linda checked it every few minutes, hoping for a message, a call, anything from Emily. But the screen stayed blank. Each hour of silence felt heavier than the last. Meanwhile, at the newlyweds' apartment, Emily lay in bed, wide awake. The wedding had gone on after her mother left, but nothing felt right. She had smiled for the photographs, danced with David, and listened to guests say congratulations. But inside, her heart was sinking. She couldn't stop seeing the look on her mother's face. That forced smile, that quiet walk to the door, the way she placed the gift so carefully before leaving. Emily's chest hurt every time she thought of it. David, on the other hand, acted as if nothing unusual had happened. He poured himself coffee in the morning and scrolled on his phone, humming a song. Emily watched him, her stomach twisting. Finally, she asked in a small voice, "Why did you say that to my mom?" David looked up, surprised. Then he smirked. "Because she doesn't belong in our lives, Emily. I told you before, she's always interfering. Yesterday, I did what you were too afraid to do. I set the boundary for us." Emily shook her head. "But I never told you to throw her out. I just wanted peace. I wanted her to feel included." David's smile disappeared. His eyes narrowed. "You're too soft. She doesn't respect us, and you know it. Don't forget how she always questioned me, how she never thought I was good enough for you. She'll ruin everything if we let her stay." Emily sat in silence. Deep down, she knew her mother had only ever wanted to protect her. Maybe she had been strict, maybe even overprotective, but never cruel. Linda had raised her alone, worked 2 jobs, and sacrificed everything so Emily could have a good life. And now, on the most important day of her life, Emily had watched her walk away in tears, because she hadn't spoken up. At Linda's house, the day dragged on like a heavy cloud. Neighbors came by to drop off leftover cake from the wedding, but Linda politely refused. She didn't want reminders. She wanted her daughter. By evening, Linda sat in her living room, holding old photo albums. She looked at pictures of Emily's first day of school, her graduation, her birthdays. In every photo, Linda was there, smiling proudly. How had things changed so much? Her sister called that night. "Linda, I saw what happened. I'm so sorry." Linda tried to keep her voice steady. "Maybe Emily really doesn't want me in her life anymore. Maybe I should accept it." "No," her sister said firmly. "I saw her face. She looked broken when you left. That wasn't Emily's choice. That was David's doing." Linda held back tears, but her heart flickered with a tiny spark of hope. Could it be true? Could Emily still want her, deep down? That night, Linda prayed silently, asking for strength. She promised herself she would not beg or force her way back. If Emily wanted her, Emily would come. At the same time, Emily lay in bed again, restless. David's words replayed in her mind. His voice sounded harsher now, colder. She thought of her mother sitting at home alone, probably crying. For the first time, Emily wondered if marrying David had been a mistake. She turned to him and whispered, "I think I need to see my mom." David's jaw tightened. "No, you don't. She's poison, Emily. You belong with me now. Forget her." Emily's heart sank. She turned away, tears sliding silently onto her pillow. She didn't sleep at all that night. She just kept thinking of her mother's quiet smile, the gift left behind, and the pain in her eyes. And by the time the sun rose, Emily knew she couldn't stay silent much longer. Emily stood at the window until the sky turned pale. She had not slept. Her chest felt tight, as if a hand was pressing down on it. She kept seeing her mother's face from the wedding day, calm on the outside, breaking on the inside. The silence in the apartment felt heavy. She could hear David in the kitchen, moving cups, closing drawers, living as if nothing had happened. She picked up her phone twice to call Linda, then put it down again. What would she say? "I'm sorry" felt too small. "I love you" felt too late. She pressed her lips together, grabbed her keys, and walked to the door. "Where are you going?" David asked without turning around. "To see my mom," Emily said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. David set the cup down. "No, you're not," he said. "We talked about this. You said you would choose us. You said you were done with her drama." "I never said I was done with her," Emily replied. "I said I wanted peace. Throwing her out of our wedding wasn't peace. It was cruel." David's smile was thin and cold. "Cruel. She earned it. She never respected me. She always thought I wasn't good enough. She kept judging our plans. She wanted control. I protected you." Emily stared at him. "Protecting me doesn't mean controlling me," she said quietly. "It doesn't mean deciding who I get to love." He stepped closer. "I'm not controlling you. I'm leading. You're emotional right now. Sit down. Breathe. We'll talk to her in a month, maybe. After the honeymoon." Something inside Emily clicked into place. A clear, simple line formed in her mind. If he can humiliate my mother once, he will do it again. If he can speak for me, he will keep speaking for me. She reached for the doorknob. "Emily." His voice was sharp now. "Don't walk out." She paused, and then walked out. The morning air felt cool on her skin. She drove to Linda's house with tears blurring the road signs. When she parked, her heart started racing. What if her mother did not open the door? What if she had truly lost her? Emily knocked softly. The door opened a moment later. Linda stood there in a simple cardigan, eyes tired, face gentle. For one long second, neither of them said anything. Then Emily broke. "Mom," she whispered. Linda's arms were around her before the second word. Emily pressed her face into her mother's shoulder and sobbed, the way she had not cried in years. Linda held her and did not ask questions. She just stroked her hair like she did when Emily was little. When Emily could finally breathe again, they moved to the couch. The small box with the pearl bracelet sat on the coffee table between them. Emily's eyes fell on it and filled again. "I never told him to do that," Emily said. "I never said I didn't want you there. I asked him to be kind to you. I asked him to try." Her voice shook. "He promised he would. He lied." Linda listened without interrupting. Emily kept going, words tumbling out like rain. "He started small," Emily said. "At first, he just rolled his eyes when I called you. Then he asked me to skip dinner with you because he wanted time alone. Then he said you were making me weak. He said you wanted to control me, that you would ruin our marriage. I thought he was just stressed. I thought it would pass." She swallowed hard. "He read my messages once," she admitted, shame burning her cheeks. "He said it was an accident, but he asked why I told you about our fights. He said couples should keep secrets and stand as one. After that, I stopped sharing things with you. I pulled away. I thought it would save the relationship." Linda's eyes shone, but her voice stayed soft. "My darling," she said, "love does not ask you to cut your heart into pieces." Emily looked down at her hands. "When you walked out, and he sat down like he'd done something brave, something in me just broke. I looked around and nobody smiled anymore. The music felt wrong. The pictures felt wrong. Everything felt like a lie." She took a shaky breath. "I should have spoken up on the spot. I froze. I'm sorry." Linda reached across the table and took her hand. "You were shocked," she said. "You were afraid. That is not the same as agreeing. I know my child." Emily cried again, quietly this time. Then she wiped her face and straightened her shoulders. "Mom," she said, "I don't want this life. I don't want to start a marriage with lies and fear. I came to tell you the truth. And I came to ask for your help." Linda nodded once, steady and sure. "What do you need?" "I need to end it," Emily said. The words came out soft but certain. "I need to call off the wedding. Not later. Today." They sat together for a while, planning the simple steps. Emily would go back, pack a bag, and leave. She would call the venue to stop any pending shipments. She would call a few close relatives to explain. She would return the ring. She would block his number if he threatened her. She would start over. Before she left, Linda lifted the small box from the table and opened it. The pearls glowed softly in the morning light. "I bought this for your wedding day," Linda said, voice warm but calm. "I don't want to force meaning on it. But pearls are made from irritation, from hurt. A grain of sand gets inside, and the shell builds a smooth, shining coat around it. It takes time. It takes patience." She placed the bracelet in Emily's hand. "Whatever you choose, you can still make something beautiful from pain." Emily's throat tightened. Will you put it on me?" she asked. Linda smiled and fastened the bracelet around her wrist. "Always." They drove back to the apartment together. Emily's steps were slow but firm. David was waiting in the living room, arms folded, eyes cold. "So," he said, "you went to her." "I did," Emily answered. "We are not doing this," he snapped. "You will not let her come between us. You will apologize for this morning, and we will move on." Emily felt Linda's quiet presence behind her, not pushing, just near. She lifted her chin. "No," she said. "I'm ending this." He laughed once, sharp and empty. "Over what?" "One awkward moment at a party. Grow up." "Over a pattern," Emily replied, steady. "Over the way you talk about the people I love. Over the way you make choices for me and call it protection. Over the way you used my wedding to hurt my mother. That is not love." Anger flashed across his face. "You'll regret this," he said. "No one will care for you like I do." "I hope not," Emily said softly. "Because this is not Kay." She walked to the bedroom and packed a small bag, just clothes, documents, and a few photos. She slipped the engagement ring into its box and placed it on the table. When she came back to the living room, Linda stood by the door, calm as the sea. Emily set the ring down between them. "I'm returning this. The wedding is off," she said. "I'll send a message to the guests. Please don't contact me." He stared at her, then at Linda, then back at Emily, searching for the old fear, the old softness that would make her stay. He did not find it. Emily turned toward the door. Her hand brushed the pearl bracelet, cool against her skin. She did not look back. Outside, the daylight felt different, cleaner, wider. She exhaled, a long, shaking breath that seemed to leave from the very center of her chest. Linda squeezed her shoulder, and Emily nodded, a small, tired smile forming. "I thought I had to choose between love and you," Emily murmured. "I was wrong. Real love doesn't make me choose." Linda's eyes warmed. "Real love chooses with you," she said. They walked to the car together. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was theirs. And for the first time in many months, Emily felt something bright moving inside her. Not fear, not guilt, not doubt. It was freedom. It was truth. And it was enough to begin. The days after Emily walked out were heavy but clear. She stayed at Linda's house, her childhood room still waiting for her like a quiet memory. At night, she lay in bed and thought of all the years she had tried to please everyone but herself. In the mornings, she woke up to the smell of her mother's cooking, and for the first time in months, she felt safe. David called her phone many times. He left angry messages at first, demanding she come back, saying she was ruining her life. When Emily ignored them, his words shifted. He begged, said he loved her, promised he would change. Emily listened once, then deleted every other message without opening them. She had made her choice. But the world around them was not quiet. Guests who had been at the wedding were talking. Stories spread fast, and soon everyone wanted to know why the ceremony had ended so suddenly. Some blamed Linda. Others whispered that Emily had gotten cold feet. Rumors grew like weeds. One evening, Linda sat at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea. Emily sat across from her, tense. "Maybe I should just tell people the truth," Emily said softly. Linda studied her face. "You don't owe the world your pain," she said. "But if telling the truth sets you free, then you tell it. You're not protecting him anymore." The next day, Emily wrote a short post and shared it with close friends and family. She didn't write every detail, but she was honest. David had been controlling, and his actions at the wedding made her see the truth. She had ended things for her own peace and safety. The reaction was like a wave. Some people reached out with love and support. Others admitted they had seen red flags in David too. A few people defended him, saying maybe it was just a misunderstanding. But Emily did not waver. For the first time, she felt stronger than the voices around her. 2 weeks later, Linda and Emily went to collect the rest of Emily's belongings from David's apartment. Emily's hands shook as she unlocked the door, but Linda was beside her. David was there, sitting on the couch, waiting. His smile was wrong, too calm, too planned. "So this is how it ends?" he asked, his voice sharp. "Yes," Emily said firmly. "I came for my things. Nothing else." He stood, anger flashing in his eyes. "You embarrassed me. You made me look like a fool in front of everyone. Do you know what people are saying about me now?" Emily's voice trembled but held steady. "What they say doesn't matter. What matters is what you did." Linda's presence filled the room with quiet strength. David glanced at her, then back at Emily. For a moment, he looked as if he might explode. But then he simply laughed, a bitter sound. "You think you're free," he said. "You'll come back. No one else will love you like I did." Emily placed the keys on the table. "I don't want someone to love me like you did," she said. Her words were soft, but they cut through the air like glass. They packed her things in silence and left. When the door closed behind them, Emily felt the weight slide off her chest. Back at Linda's house, the two women sat together on the couch. Emily opened the small box again and touched the pearl bracelet. "I thought I lost everything," she whispered. "But I didn't. I found you again. And I found myself." Linda smiled, tears in her eyes. "Sometimes life takes away what is wrong to make space for what is right. You are stronger than you think, Emily. You always were." The twist came a week later. One of David's old friends contacted Emily. He told her that David had been controlling not just with her but with others too. Past girlfriends had left him for the same reason. Emily listened, stunned but also relieved. The problem had never been her. It had always been him. That truth gave her peace. She stopped blaming herself. She stopped replaying the scene at the wedding, wondering what she could have done differently. Instead, she started imagining her future, without fear, without lies, with people who truly cared for her. Linda and Emily spent long evenings together, cooking, laughing, healing. Slowly, the shame turned into strength, and the heartbreak turned into a lesson. One night, Emily held her mother's hand and said, "When David told you to leave, I thought I had lost you forever. But really, he only gave me back what I had forgotten, your love, your wisdom, and the truth about myself." Linda squeezed her hand. "And that," she said, "is why the wedding being called off was not the end. It was the beginning." The story that had started with humiliation ended with freedom. The day Linda walked out quietly had felt like a loss, but in the end, it was the step that saved her daughter's future. Emily looked at the pearl bracelet shining on her wrist and smiled. It was no longer a gift for a wedding. It was a symbol of survival, strength, and a bond that could never be broken again. And this time, the silence around them was not heavy with pain. It was full of peace.